Greetings, welcome to Talk of the Block. I'm your host, Chris Conscious. In the last couple of years, conservatism and or Christianity has been equated to white supremacy, Nazism, and fascism, and we know that is not true. This narrative has influenced people to maintain the perception that being conservative makes you a horrible, bad person. But contrary to the liberal belief, being conservative or Christian isn't a bad thing. And conservatism has never been the ideal ideology for white supremacy. But the left wants you to think that. As a matter of fact, the principles of conservatism actually do not support the idea of being better or above another group of people based on heritage or skin color. Conservatives rarely consider skin color when imposing laws or regulations because it's implied that all people can benefit from said laws and regulations if they choose so. And you can see that throughout history of conservatism. The values actually rest on the idea of differences working together to navigate through this society. But if we look at the history of the KKK and the white supremacists, we can conclude that these groups prescribe and align more towards liberal and progressive ideologies. Liberals and progressives build many of their campaigns maintaining the permanent ideal of racial inequality that only white people can fix by taking responsibility. And again, if they choose so. But they never really solve the issue. It's almost like the left and the liberal and progressives took a page from the Dixiecrat books of value. So what is conservatism? Many of you don't know what it means to be conservative, so you rely on the definitions of those who oppose it. And they have a lot to say bad about conservatism. So today we're going to go over a few principles that outline conservative values so that you can get a better understanding. Now, there are two sides to conservatism. The first being a value system, and the second showing how the value system plays out in politics. Now track with me. I came across this website, right? And this website kind of outlines some conservative values that I believe are very good, especially for showing, just a brief synopsis of what conservatism is about. But first, I want to show you what the values are before I show you how it deals with politics. Because they're closely related, because a lot of people do their politics based on what it is that they value in life, right? So here's some values. This is what a conservative lives by. And this is more or less, I'm not saying these are all of them, but these are more or less what we generally live by as conservatives. And even some of these principles libertarians can get with, except for when it comes to like how much government, is involved in life and how much regulation government puts on private citizens. So first of all, value, I'm going to say value more than principle, because principle, I can get that into to politics, but the value is personal responsibility and self-reliance. One of the things that a lot of people don't get about conservatives, and they talk about things like picking yourself up by the bootstrap. That meaning that take responsibility for what you're doing, how you are conducting yourself. And then not only that, creating it where it can be self-sustaining, where you can live in society without requiring, and I'm using the word requiring, help from outside entities like government, social programming. So it's not that conservatives are against social programming, because there are times where it is needed. We see things like healthcare, a certain type of healthcare, or childcare. Some of these things are social issues that need to be taken care of for those who cannot afford it in a system that constantly inflates due to government intervention. So we're not necessarily against social programming, but We are against those who abuse the program, knowing that they have the ability to do, ability to work, ability to build, and they're not taking that opportunity to build versus, let me just go get this help for this government. Second value is being pro-enterprise. And let me break that down, because some of y'all don't know what these things mean, because I got to remember who I'm talking to. I'm talking about living within our means, right? Support for responsible free market economy. Living within your means and supporting a responsible free market economy. Living within your needs, understanding that free market creates competition, which drives prices down, first of all. And this is what the basis of capitalism is. And some of these people out here who are so against conservatism and so against the Republican idea of law, they think that they say capitalism is a part of republicanism or conservatism, which is not, because capitalism is just a system of commerce. People don't understand what that is, but it boils down to being able to compete, which drive prices down, and being able to, if I want to open a Walmart, I should be able to open a Walmart free of government intervention trying to stop me or anything like that. It's fair competition, meaning I'm being responsible and self-reliant, trying to make myself, and being able to have that choice to do it, but also being able to live within the amount of money I have. So if I don't have enough money to do certain things, I shouldn't be out there racking up debt, right? It's not a thing we should be doing. Conservative values, we don't believe in racking up debt. Like, you notice that we always get calls for, get this loan or get this payday loan or get this, because everybody wants money now, but nobody wants to take the time to build the money in order to have it. Conservatism is all about build your money before you go do something. Stop living beyond your means, which is dumb. And this is why you need help in the first place, right? Obviously, just like everybody else, pro-freedom, everybody understands freedom of choice, liberty of speech. First Amendment, Second Amendment, we're going to be all for that, period. That there's no reason to even explain what being able to speak freely and say what it is you want, believe what you want, do what you want, in a sense, within reason, not within breaking laws or infringing on somebody else. That's why I said do what you want within reason, because we can't necessarily do what we want in society because we cannot infringe on somebody else's livelihood, right? But being able to do what you want as long as it affects your life in a way that only your life and nobody else's life, but also being able to protect yourself and all that stuff. Pro-defense, like I said, national strong defense. We're all about securing borders. We're all about having, like, I do it like this. You don't want anybody breaking into your house, so we don't leave our doors unlocked. It's not that they can't come in. We want to be able to invite you in. We want to be able to welcome you in, but not you coming in just because you feel like coming in to my house. If we are a country, borders, security, having a strong defense system establishes this is who we are. These defense systems, these borders differentiate us from other countries in their rule. We are a free country, supposedly. We're losing those freedoms daily, right? We are a free country, and that free country needs a military and border security that keeps people who want to get rid of that freedom or undermine that freedom from coming in and doing just that. Period. Nobody's against immigration. Nobody's against people, but we want to be able to welcome you in. We want to be able to control what gets in this country, regulate them, making sure that those things are not harmful to the freedom of the society, like drugs, like sex trafficking. All of these things thwart freedom. Sex trafficking is another form of slavery. Drugs is a pretty much chemical warfare. If another country is bringing drugs into your country, dumbing down the people, come on. We're not going to be good for nothing. How are we going to defend ourselves? They can just swoop right on in if we let it get out of control, right? Pro-justice, the rule of law. Justice. Now, mind you, we have this big thing in America with laws being racist, claiming them laws are being racist and being unfair and stuff like that. Obviously, this country, like every country, has issues, but we don't have all the issues that every other country got. A lot of people are trying to say that. I've noticed that online and on social media, a lot of people are saying that, America got it bad, the U.S. got it bad, and there's better countries and stuff like this. And I'm like, okay, then move there. No, I'm not going to move there. I know, because it's not better. Like, everybody want to make it seem like we're so horrible because of the 89 years that we had slaves as a country. And I'm going to keep saying that because I was on live and somebody say 400 years. No, we have not been 400 years. We have probably been 400 years of slaves on this land, but we were ruled by other countries, right? Britain, France, own half the territory. Like, come on, guys. Let's be honest. When America became a country, when the U.S. established itself as a separate country from colonies, we only had 89 years from that time. And then slavery was gone. When we started controlling our own country. And then not only that, let's get real. Slavery was only in the South. It wasn't in the North. There was no laws enslaving people in the North. It was only in the South. So America, part of America had no slaves. The other part had slaves because America was two. It was the Confederate South and the Union North. That was technically that was two different countries. But, people don't want to teach history right? So we can say the South had slavery. But when we became its own country and we took over those territories and all of them came into the Union, we fought the Civil War and all that stuff, freedom, became one country. So the country that we are now serving is the ones that won against the country who wanted slaves, if you want to be technical. Pro-community, we're pro-community. I mean, a lot of people are. And we like, and what I mean by pro-community, we are conservatives are not about getting rid of the diversity. There is value in having a diverse group of people. There's values of tolerating the differences. This is why you don't see conservatives trying to dox liberals. Like, liberals are trying to cancel liberals just because they don't like what they say, or we don't like what they say. We don't do that on the conservative side. And if we do, it's very far and few between. I know I have not seen it. I don't see conservatives screaming, cancel, unless you did just, right now there's some people that I ain't gonna say that because I've seen some people who claim to be conservative saying that, but because they're probably just fed up because they keep getting him canceled. But, how long are you gonna back a wild animal in a corner and think it ain't gonna bite or try to lash out the same way you lashing out at them? So, but as a whole, we're not trying to cancel people just because they think different. We value the fact that liberals don't think like us because it creates great society when we're able to look at things that we don't normally look at with our value system. We're all about inclusivity. Again, you see this a lot of times where conservatives are always trying to bring the other side in, but you see the other side trying to push them away. Openness and internationality. Here's the seventh one, which is pro-opportunity. Equal opportunity for all. Aspirations, empowerment, education, and social mobility. Conservatism values equality of opportunity for all. Aspiration, empowerment, education, and social mobility. These are things that liberals say liberals and progressives say that they're all for, but it's not about the value, it's about how you implement it. See, here's where a lot of we go different, and I'm gonna get into how it plays out in politics or whatever. It's how we get those things accomplished. Like, the Republicans, when we were fighting for civil rights, the Republicans who helped fight for civil rights, they were pushing equality, not integration. And a lot of people get mad at this situation because everybody think integration was the end all be all. No, we weren't pushing to be in your schools. That was a political ploy that they started doing. which came from the liberal side. Huh? Huh? Why did you think Malcolm X said what he said about the white liberal? He didn't trust the white conservative or the white liberal, but he disdained the white liberal more because they come with their teeth blaring as if they're smiling like a fox, but they're trying to hurt you. He didn't say that the white conservative was off the hook. He just said, I know what they're about. They're very easy to read in so many words, right? So equal opportunity, meaning I should be able to be in the free market, live in society without the discrimination of others. I should be able to go to the bank and get a loan without being discriminated against. Integration does not mean equality. Integration just means you're putting me in your house. But that doesn't mean you're going to treat me same or teach me what you're teaching your kids. Equality. That's what we are for. That's what they've been fighting for since the beginning of America. America Republicans freed the slave. American Republicans fought for civil rights. The American liberal, the Democrats jumped on because they were like, oh, we're losing. We need to find a way to stay in power. And we see that to this day. Democrats are all about power. That's all they talk about. Control, everything they do. Control this, control that, control this, control this, control. Republicans are busy trying to say, here, people, it's on you. You the ones that govern us. The same stuff, guys. It's the same stuff. Give it back to the people. Free the people. Let the people do. Equality. Social mobility. Education. Good education. Free to educate. You don't have to go to public school. They don't have to provide public school. Create your school. I remember back in the day before we had all this public health, schools were did by individual churches. This is why the Jewish people still send their kids to their church. That's why Catholics have schools. Everybody was teaching within their communities because they would teach their kids their way, preserving their culture in their schools. Teaching was about culture. Also learning things like math, reading, and stuff like that, stuff that help you function in society. But that's the thing. Our schools have gotten beyond that. They're beyond just teaching things in society like the basics do. They're teaching other people's cultures and other people's lifestyles and sexual orientations. That has nothing to do with living in society. It is up to the parent and the culture of the people to teach their kids. But we elect to send our kids to public schools. We need them to make our schools. Here, I said it earlier in a monologue. We can't overcome without them doing it, right? Why do you think those schools were set up? Black Panthers try to show us that. The black Muslims was trying to teach us that. Nation of Islam is still trying to teach us that. They set those schools up not to help us, guys. Well, I'm sorry. I don't want to go there because I don't want to get kicked off. But anyways, evaluate compassionate, prioritizing vulnerability, prioritizing the vulnerable, social justice, and civic mind. And this is one of the things that we all argue on. Liberals and conservatives alike are for these things, prioritizing the vulnerable, like the homeless and stuff like this, right? We're all for social justice. We're all for getting justice for things, and we're all civic minded. But we don't agree on how those things should happen. There's the fight. It's not that we don't care about these things as conservative. These are the things this is why I said conservatives and liberals and progressives can come together if they really focus on the values that we stand by. It's just we don't agree how those things should be done. Conservatism don't believe that government should be handling these things. Government should just create regulations so that we can do things and allow us to do things with impunity or whatever. Without being like I give you an instance, when I first moved out to California, I heard there was a law in the book that you can't feed the homeless, otherwise you get a ticket. And I'm like, what? Like, that's a crazy law. And it was a law. I think they ended up changing it or somebody, I don't know what happened. It's probably still there for all I know. But I thought it was a really dumb law because I heard some people getting tickets for feeding homeless people, but there's a certain thing you got to do in order to do it, right? So I don't believe those things should be regulated like that. I believe that those things should be done on the individual private level. Private people should be able to set up things for homeless people. And if that's the case, then the government can subsidize if they want to pay taxes or use taxes to help those things. Yes, the government can provide those things for private businesses to do, and then just make sure that the private business, like the nonprofit organization, which is private business, most nonprofits are subsidized by the government, but they're private organizations, that they're doing right by the money that they're getting from taxes. That's the only job that a government should do, is provide funding. Not setting it up and then creating all of these things where you got to do all this crazy. You know how it's so crazy when you deal with the welfare system, even unemployment, all these things that the government controls, and nothing is ever easy. It's a lot of nonsense for no reason. It's like, why am I doing this? Didn't I just give you this? Why I got to do this 5 million times? Look, why do I got to have an address? I am homeless. Like I've heard you can't get certain things unless you have an address, but they're homeless and they need the help. Like, I mean, some of the regulations are dumb. This is why I don't believe that they should regulate. They should provide funding. And most conservatives probably agree with that. And I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm only going by the general consensus. Value 9. Pro-democracy, and understand the difference between democracy and being a republic, meaning pro-patriotism, limited government. And this is one of the things that libertarians can get with conservatives with, because the conservative value is limited government, right? Patriotism, pro-family, pro-sovereignty, localism, meaning I want to be sovereign for the state. The state does not control me. The government does not control me. Pro-family. My family is important. I have the right to build my family without you telling me I can't. And this is one of the issues that the Black community has had with welfare, where an only way that a woman can receive help from welfare if they needed it was they got to get rid of the man, even though the man and the woman are struggling together, which is not pro-family. Limited government. The government should not even be in that stuff anyway. If a family needs help, you should just provide that help, because that's what we pay taxes for government to provide help for those who are less fortunate. You should not be telling them that they can't get it unless something happens. That's overstepping. That's what liberals like. That's what liberals like, control like that. The left likes to control. The Democrats, pro-democracy, meaning by the people, by the people, by the people. Pro-democracy, by the people. Not by the government, right? Principled, meaning fairness, integrity, protagonist. I can't even say the word. Integrity, respect, right? Fairness, integrity, and respect. So you can tell sometimes I don't be knowing some of the stuff that I'm reading. I'm like, well, how you pronounce this word? I know what it means. I don't know how to say the word. But fairness, integrity, and respect, principle. There needs to be a fairness. Like we see it today with this whole COVID stuff, the vaxxed versus unvaxxed, or the mask and the unmasked, or if you don't believe in my ideology, and if you're a patriot, you're a terrorist. All this unfair. I'm looking for the right word. I would say this unjust labeling. There's the word I'm looking for. Unjust labeling for people who don't necessarily agree with certain things, people who don't necessarily trust the government. And it's funny that the left, and I'm sorry I talk about the left like I am, but this is what they're doing. I'm not going to hold my tongue. I used to be on the left, in a sense. I was still conservative, but I was on the left. I was a Democrat. And but when they started progressing towards what they are now, like I don't agree with this idea of everything needs to be the same. It's not. That's not fair. Being the same doesn't mean fair. Because it's not fair that I work hard, I make anywhere from $100,000 and above a year, and then I got to take my money because this dude don't want to work and help him out. That's not fairness. Being the same is not fair. Being in a collective society is not fair. I should not have to hold down somebody who's not working. Those who cannot work, that's different. Those who cannot help themselves, that's different. But those who can, we should not be sitting here doing things for people who can. The 11th one, and this is the last one that I have on this list anyway, forward-looking, support gradual change. I mean, gradual change. So this is one of the things that people think conservatism is not about change. And no. It's about gradual, thought-out change. Stewardship of heritage and environment, supportive of innovation and technology. Meaning, there are some things that need to change because it doesn't work, and there are some things that don't because it is working. Why would you change something that is working? And just because you feel, oh, this is outdated, we need to do something different. Conservatives are not about change just because. Oh, let's change because there's a new society. No. If it's working and it's good for society, why change it? But if it's not working, let's change. Let's be innovative. We're all about technology. We're all about gradual change, making sure that when we change something that we're not hurting society by the change, even if it's a good change. Make sure that it's progressing, giving people time to adjust to this change. The liberal side just want to throw people into the dirt and be like, here you go. There you go. And to me, that's not smart. All right. So understanding those are values. Let me show you seven things. Seven things. And I know this is getting long-winded. These are 7 principles that these values can fit under when it comes to government and when it comes to actual implemented in society, right? The first one is individual freedom, which I said in the values. And I'm going to read this. This is coming from MikeJohnson.house.gov. He's outlining the 7 core principles of conservatism, and I liked what these things said, which is individual freedom. The birth of our great nation was inspired by the bold declaration that our individuals' God-given liberties should be preserved against government intrusion, right? Individual freedom. We started this country by saying that we have a God-given right, First Amendment, right? The same conviction informs our conservative policy decisions to this day, as I said earlier. So I'm not going to read that whole thing. You guys can go read that on this page. The second being limited government. Remember I told you this is something that libertarians and conservatives have in common, limited government. Now, mind you, libertarians probably want less limited government than conservatism, but all in all, limited government. For the individual liberty to be championed, government must be reduced, meaning government cannot get big. Right now, we have such a big government where they're enforcing things that are against our constitutional right, which overlaps our freedoms, which overlaps our personal lives. The government should never have the power to shut down a business. They should never have a power to tell you when you can operate, when you cannot operate. That is one indicator that our government has gotten too big and it needs to be shut down and downsized. So in a sense, the idea of defunding police should have been defunding our government, because the money that they get from us, they don't need all that money. They're paying a private bank with it. But that's another podcast. The rule of law, meaning the government of laws and not of men, meaning we don't judge by what a man thinks or what a man. We set up laws that are universal and for everyone. If you actually look at the laws that we have on the books, the things that are crimes are pretty much laws against humanity, murder. There's actually laws against adultery or sexual immortality, all that stuff. Our laws, thievery, and all this stuff. You can even go to jail for lying to a judge, or you can even get in trouble for lying to a cop about something, and they can get you for like something interfering with investigation. There's another term for it. That's just one of them. But there's a lot of things that a lot of the laws equate to what is fair in society as a whole. And the rule of law should always be that. And it should not be for individuals or because somebody feels a certain way, we're going to change this law to make you feel good. Like, I believe that, and I'm sorry, this is just me, I think affirmative action is an unfair law and it does not help everybody. We should never make laws towards a group of people unless that group of people is being treated less than equal with the rest of society. Understanding the civil rights laws are for Black people. But that is just to bring them up to status quo because the law before was where we're like a 1/3 of a person or something, or 3/5 of a person. I don't know what it was, but we weren't considered human beings. And those laws made us equal with the rest of society. That's the only way I believe a law should be written for a specific people. If those people, like Black folks, were slaves, we were considered property, not people. You had to maintain and say, hey, these are people now, especially in a society that had those laws before. If the society never had the law, then there will be no need for those laws. Again, laws that are specific to groups of people are unfair in a society like America because we're a melting pot of people. Peace through strength, meaning strong military, being able to fight for what our freedoms, fight for our rights, and protect us from any foreign interference. Fiscal responsibility, meaning that we have to make sure that we are not accruing debt. Remember, I told you in one of our value system is living within your means and not beyond your means. Our government lives beyond its means. But that's because guess who normally pushes the budget? You look at history, it is one side of the government, one of the wings, right? There's right wing and left wing, right? There's Republican and Democrat. One of the wings is always pushing our budget higher. And I'm going to leave that at that. I'm not even going to say who it is because we all know who it is. Free markets, meaning, again, allowing us to be able to have free markets, non-interfering with government, being able to act as an individual because every corporation, every business is considered its own individual, and we should allow them to operate, meaning they can make the decisions that they want to because it's their business. And that also includes mass mandates, and I would say far as vaccine. Now, mind you, if a business requires a vaccine or a mask mandate, I wouldn't shop there anyway. I don't shop at places that goes against so I don't see them lasting long if they did. But I believe even if a business decide they want to discriminate against somebody because they don't like who the person is for whatever reason, they have that right. They're an individual. Because if I don't want you in my house, I can not let you come in my house for any reason. I believe unless you're getting unless it's now that does go over the line of discrimination, but in a sense, I don't believe in discrimination, and I don't think most conservatives do. But a business should have the right, within reason, I would say within reason, to be able to function. Now, if you are discriminating for some reason, then just put them out of business. I think that's the best medicine. But to create a law where I can just go in here, they're not going to treat me right anyway. So what's the point in creating a law to make them do it? That's my libertarian side. So I got a libertarian side. Most conservatives don't agree with this. I agree with this. Let them be racist. Just put them out of business. Don't shop there, right? But within the conservatism side, I do understand the discriminatory laws. So there is a line. It's a very fine line, but there is a line that I believe that you shouldn't cross as a business with your individuality, especially because you're in a public forum. There's different when you're in public, when you're in a public market, that's different. If you're not in public market, if it's not your job to be in public market, do what you want with your business. That's what contractors to me are not public market because we can choose who we do business with. And that's our business, right? And then human dignity, treating everybody like human. Now, mind you, that free market thing and human dignity thing can go together. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, because I was confused on what I said at one point too. I had to make sure that you understand that I'm not for discrimination. Conservatism is not for discrimination. I am okay with it because I don't have to shop at there, as long as they're not infringing on what I can do. If you don't want me to shop at your store, you just don't want me to shop at my store, but you can't go tell this business over here that don't sell to him because he's this. I don't believe in that. Because at the end of the day, we can find people who will do what they need to do for us. Now, here's my final thought about conservatism. Liberalism, progressivism, libertarianism. My thing is this: there is nothing wrong with people prescribing to these value systems. It's their choice. Like, we got to get back to a society where people are allowed to be a part of groups, have the beliefs, and prescribe to certain political parties as they see fit, and that works for them. I am not mad at anybody who chooses to be liberal. I don't really care. If you want to be liberal, be liberal. It's just when you argue me with these points about being a liberal and then I tell you what it really is about, you can't get mad when I tell you the truth. You can tell me about conservatism, but 9 times out of 10, you're not right. And this is what I've been finding. I'm not saying that everybody will be wrong when they're telling me about conservatism, because there's some things in conservatism that I kind of side-eye when I see some people who are conservative. But again, those things that I don't like are individual. That necessarily mean that it is the whole conglomerate of conservatism. Even being a Republican. Republican has a diverse group of Republicans. Not every Republican agrees with different things. Like, obviously, I told you what my values were. Some of my values don't really jive with conservatism. Am I pro-black? I'm sure am. I've been pro-black since days long. This is why I broke away from liberalism, because it's hard to be pro-black and be a liberal, because everything I saw that the liberal and the left were doing was pushing us down. It was keeping us in this depressed state, telling us that we're nobody, telling us that we can't do unless. And I just don't see black people like that. I see black people as some powerful people who've overcame everything that other societies try to throw at us, and still survive, and still maintain, and still saw success and built wealth, even through all of that. That's how I see black people. The liberal side don't see it that way. The liberal side, from what I've seen, and I'm gonna say from what I've seen, because everybody gets mad when I make these declarations that this is what it is. From what I've seen from liberals and the left and the Democrats is that they see us as poor people who can't do. People that they need to regulate and control. People who need to get a handout from us so that they don't become so powerful, so that the people who are controlling us in that side stays in power. They want to pander to us and make it seem like, oh, we're for you, we love you, and oh, I am for the people, but you sitting in your mansion in Manhattan while I'm sitting on the streets trying to figure out what my next meal is. You don't care about us. This is why I cannot be liberal. This is why I cannot be Democrat and be pro-black, because these people do not care about us. But when I look at the values that we have on the conservative side and the libertarian side, that Republicans everywhere that I've ever went have displayed. I mean, I went to places where I thought I was going to be kicked out because of the color of my skin, and these people embraced me. They weren't trying to impress me. They weren't trying to get me to do anything. It was just, hey, brother, and it was a nice time talking about things. Every time I'm around somebody on the left, it's all this tiptoeing around me. Oh, can you, are you able to get on the internet? Because if you're not, I mean, I have internet. You can afford it, right? That looking down on me as if I'm just some charity case. That's why I can't get with it. I'm pro-black. I want to see our culture thrive. I want to see our culture live in a society with who we are in its totality, and taking that who we are and adding into the flavor of this melting pot. This stew that we call the US of A. We're a stew, and we're one ingredient. But we got to be good ingredients, because right now my community isn't. But we should be able to choose who we want to affiliate with without repercussion, without people trying to cancel, or without people trying to tell us that we're this and we're that and you're a sellout and you're this. We're supposed to tolerate. This is why, again, one of the values that I outlined was toleration. Tolerant people. And I'm sorry, conservatives, every conservative I've met is tolerant. Even in the dating world, when I was out in the dating world, I had women tell me, I don't date conservatives. Like, geez, like, so your whole life is based on somebody's political ideology that could change the next 4 years? Because mine sure did. Mine changed after Clinton. I like Clinton. I mean, I know he has some stuff, but I did. I still don't see nothing wrong with him, because I still have the ideology of Clinton that I had back in the day when I liked him, right? You can't tell me about Clinton. I'm talking about Bill Clinton. You know, he was the man. No, let me stop. Anyways. But I'm just saying, like, those things change. And even when I'm out dating, making relationships with people, or making friendships with people, like, people are so disgusted. They have no tolerance for somebody who doesn't think like you politically, even though politics is not even a thing that people even use in their daily life. When you're with your wife and with your family, you're not politicking. You're trying to live life, make money, go on vacation, enjoy, you know. But people are basing that off of. But the conservatives are very tolerant. And that's something I could prescribe to. And I'm going to leave this with you. At the root of everything that we're trying to accomplish is the belief that America has a mission. We are a nation of freedom, living under God, believing all citizens must have the opportunity to grow. All citizens must have the opportunity to grow, create wealth, and build a better life for those who follow. Remember I said earlier, if they choose. If we live up to those moral values, we can keep the American dream alive for our children and our grandchildren. And America will remain mankind's best hope. That's a quote from President Ronald Reagan. And that quote is probably one of the realest things ever said. And we cannot forget about that. And with that, we out here in the streets. We out here in these streets.